really important topic. I serve on Homeland Security as well, and so the intersection of the grid, of the threats that we're facing, the things that y'all are doing, how the government can help, what we need to be doing to help, the intelligence that you need, the sharing of information, and those types of things are really important. Before I get into the questions, I want to submit a letter for the record, Mr. Chairman, that we sent to the Department of Commerce, to Secretary Lutnick, that Mr. Balderson and I wrote.
Without objection, so ordered.
And it has to do with the Chinese manufactured inverters and just the critical grid components that we're very concerned about. So we'll get that for the record, but I'll just jump right into questions. Mr. Ball, in your testimony, you indicated that the PRC, the campaigns like Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon represent the most persistent and adaptive threats that are targeting our infrastructure. We know that the Chinese Communist Party is actively seeking to do damage and gather intelligence, but can you describe at an operational level what utilities are doing differently today than has been done to detect and to stop these campaigns, and then what gaps still exist that we need to be worried about?
So I think the best way to describe that is I think we see an industry that is evolving in its capabilities, and it's based on awareness. I think we have seen a significant awakening, and I'm not saying it's enough, but we have seen a significant awakening to the threat with our industry. And when it boils down to it, despite the sophisticated capabilities that threat actors like the PRC has, a lot of the things that make us resilient still boil down to basic practices. And making yourself, and our utilities, and we need to continue to bolster that capability. Our industry, whether it's large IOUs or down to the municipals and cooperatives, I think you're hearing even today how this industry is awake to that. And I think we need to continue to empower them to be able to build a more resilient system.
Are you seeing that there are other state actors that are seeking to exploit the Chinese-made inverters?
It's a good question. I think that we don't see any, from my perspective, my purview, I necessarily can't comment or see any different threat actors utilizing the same core technologies to exploit it. But I would say that threat actors of all sorts, if there's a vulnerability in a technology, they will seek to exploit it. And that can range from sophisticated threat actors all the way down to criminals, folks that want to monetize vulnerability by attacking.
Mr. Lindahl and Ms. Arts, I'll get to you on a question here in a second, but same thing for you. We have a lot of rural cooperatives in my district. I think I overlapped with something close to 15 or so. The gentleman behind you could probably answer that question for me. But what kind of threats or vulnerabilities or gaps are you seeing specifically in the rural cooperative?
We see the same threats, I think, that every other utility sees. I don't think, a threat actor doesn't differentiate between a small cooperative and a large utility like an Xcel Energy. And we put the layers in place, and we don't necessarily care where the threat comes from. We care that we have things in place to prevent it from happening and be able to respond to it once it does happen. However, with information sharing, we do need the tools so we understand what the threats are, and we can develop the tools to mitigate them.
Are you getting what you need in the form of intelligence, information sharing, and an awareness of the threat as our intelligence community sees it? Are you getting that in a timely manner?
It's a good foundation. I think it's working, and it's working now, but we can always evolve and improve.
I'll take that for we need to improve. Ms. Arts, you mentioned in your testimony that the Chinese state-sponsored actors have already compromised multiple U.S. critical infrastructure providers with the intent to disrupt operational controls. How have the cybersecurity practices changed in response to these threats in these nation states?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would say the information that we've received, particularly on Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon, resulted in the Energy Threat Analysis Center, which I mentioned, really honing in on that threat and developing capabilities is maybe not quite the right word, so that small, medium, large electric utilities could look for evidence of those cyber actors in their systems. Those threat hunt memo guides that were produced by ETAC are an example of us as industry taking that intelligence, innovating, and getting quick risk reduction priorities into the hands of those that need to use them to mitigate the risk.
Thank you. My time's expired. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Colorado is now recognized for at least 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First I want to talk about